What's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Pulse and the host of HBCU Pulse Radio, in the building for a very special interview on today. Where, if you know me, I am a voracious reader, also a published author. I don't play about writing. It's how I make my living, okay? So I read books, and I want to read HBCU books, and I ran across this book, Nostrof University, that I just finished reading actually as I record this on yesterday. And I'm super excited. I'm super excited to talk to Chanese Jaa, the author of Nostrof University. Chanese, how you doing today?
Hi, Randall. I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, I'm excited to talk to you because we actually share commonality. I just met you literally like 2 minutes ago, and I do research. Listen, my Fort Valley State University HBCU degree in media studies, I do research. And the research that I did is that you are a teen author. You were a teen author back in 2014 when you were in high school, your junior year of high school. You released the book Love, Fame, and War. So before we get started, shout out to you because it's like we gang. Like, this is like teen authors in the building. Before we get started, tell me about that because that's an amazing start to your writing journey. That being what that's what 11 years ago. It's been 11 years. So how does it feel like to be at this point in your author journey, and how did you publish a book at such a young age?
It first of all, as going to today, it feels amazing. Like it's just to see how I just grown and matured just as a person and in my writing, because I did go back and read Love and War with my adult eyes, and I was like, oh, okay. But from the age that I was when I wrote it, it was perfect. But like I just always been a creative, I've always been a world builder, a storyteller. So I was that kid, and I'll never forget geometry class with my composition notebook, and I was just writing stuff down. And Love, Fame, and War just came about. I had this idea, a little deep dive. This had this idea of what would the life of the before fame girlfriend look like for the rapper or whatever. And that was around the time where, love and hip hop had just was like fresh. So I just took that idea and I just like ran with it. I added my own little spin to it at a young age. So that's how Love, Fame, and War came about. But it's just amazing to see where I am 11 years later. And it's just I've done many things in between the years, and it's just writing has never left me. That's always been my first love.
I love that. So Nostrof University, like, I get this email, this pitch email, and I get so many about topics that Shanice, I don't even cover some of these topics they send me. I'm like,
Oh,
what? Like, why are you sending me something about the eye doctor? Like, you want to interview this eye doctor? I'm like, that's not what I do. I got
listen, not too much on my optical. I was an optical
okay.
technician.
Well, but is they? I don't.
Okay.
Unless they went to an HBCU or got an HBCU store, I can't cover people's eyes. I got some smart glasses, but I can't cover people's eyes. So I get all these different pictures. But I saw
Mhm,
that, hey, like, you have this book, Nostrof University, and I was
mhm.
immediately intrigued. So I went to go buy it. And for these past few days, I've just been reading through it, and I've just been taken by, the story of Nay, and you got Taj and Harper's tripping. Like, I got a lot of beef with Harper and Essence. Essence doing too much
Okay.
to be upperclassmen. Okay, like, she
Yes.
doing way too much. Like, you Greek, you the dean of pledges, and you hating on a freshman. Like, that's loser stuff. Okay, like, I read the whole book. Like, I was very much so within it. All right, so I want to just ask you before we get into the book. I want you to tell me about your HBCU upbringing in your life. Because you said in a recent interview that you've been surrounded by HBCU excellence your entire life. So expound on that for me.
Yes. So although I didn't attend an HBCU personally, both of my parents attended an HBCU. My mother is actually a Bethune-Cookman University alum, and she is a proud, and I'm going to emphasize, proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Okay. So I've been around that my entire life, from the homecomings to the classics, and even just, random weekends, because I live in Central Florida. So we would drive up to Daytona. She would take my sister and I up to Daytona. We would drive by Cookman, and she'd be like, "There's my tree." They had the little AKA tree on the courtyard and everything like that. So just always hearing about, her stories at Cookman back when it was BCC, Bethune-Cookman College, just the pride and just the community that she still had with her, classmates, even to this day. They're still homecoming is what, in 2 days? And they've been planning. So it's just that I've always just been in love with that. And then I created Nostrof University from that.
So let's get into the creation of Nostrof, because the thing that really impressed me when I started reading the book and I did my research is that this isn't just a regular setting in a book. Because when it comes to books, you'll have like, hey, like it's set here, or like this is the backdrop of it. Like you've created a whole university within itself, both in the book and also through promotion. So I want to just dive into it. Like, what made you write the book? You have, the HBCU upbringing in your family, your mom, and everything like that. But what made you say, hey, I want to write this book?
Well, going back to my writing years in high school, I remember reading this quote. I can't remember who the author was, but it said, "Create the world that you'd want to live in." So ever since I've seen that, that stuck with me throughout my writing career. And I wanted to create an HBCU that I wish existed. Now, granted, I love all of my HBCUs, especially my Florida HBCUs, but I wanted to create a fictional HBCU that felt something similar but modernized to Hillman from a different world, because I realized that my generation and the generation after me, we haven't had any kind of positive Black representation like Hillman or such as Hillman. And Hillman did a lot for the generations before me, and everything like that. So I wanted to create something like that. And also with HBCUs under so much educational, cultural attacks right now, I felt it was important to preserve, not only entertain, but preserve their culture and through storytelling. And that's why I really wanted to write Nostrof University. It's literally my love letter to HBCUs, honestly.
I love that. And here's the thing, we definitely need that because it is a lot going on with HBCUs. And really for me, when it comes to media, and I'm glad I can do this interview because I can talk about my thoughts about media and HBCU media. Listen, like you hit the nail on the head when you said like a different world. Like our generation didn't really have a different world type of show because I was born in the 90s, you were born in the 90s. So I mean, we had Drumline had people wanting to be in the band. You had Stomp the Yard, people wanted to be Greek anyway, but Stomp the Yard gave it that bring it on element. Chris Brown, the first couple minutes. But like you had the quad, and that was my thing. My show, I brought the actors from the quad on campus. That's how much I love the quad for that. I brought them on campus myself. But that show was short lived, and a lot of people didn't like it because it showed elements of HBCU life that weren't as pretty, and some elements weren't really realistic, right? I always really wanted like some HBCU media, some fictional HBCU media that really captured the holistic nature of HBCU life. And I really think that you did it with Nostrof. Like, I think that from the relationship side to the campus politics, to even real world politics, how it intersects, I really think you did that well. So I want you, because at the beginning of the book, there's this like admissions letter for the people that you crack it open and read, and he says, "Congratulations, you've been admitted to Nostrof University." I'm like, I finally can get my master's at this point. I said I wasn't gonna get one. I'm like, okay, Nostrof University. I might just go in to get my master's at this point. So I want you, since this is essentially a living, breathing HBCU, tell us the history of Nostrof University.
Oh, the history. I love my HBCU, okay? Nostrof University, affectionately known as NU, okay? It is home to the Nostrof Eagles. It was founded in 1897 by Ron J. Nostrof in the fictional city of Blackton, Florida. Like I said, it's the home to the Nostrof Eagles. And going back to the Greek life, it is also the birthplace to our Sacred Seven Greek organizations, which are the Greek organizations that were founded on the campus. Just give you guys a little history, a little rundown. We have Delta Kappa Chi sorority, Gamma Alpha Theta sorority, Chi Alpha Rho sorority. Then we have Kappa Kappa Chi fraternity, Omega Mu Gamma fraternity, Alpha Psi Theta fraternity, and Sigma Epsilon Xi fraternity. So everything from the Greek organizations to some of our dormitories being named after, Florida HBCUs or HBCU founders, or even our mascot, Big E the Eagle, everything had it was just intentional. And even though it's fictional, it literally I took pieces of every HBCU and put it into Nostrof University to make it feel like that real living and breathing HBCU, like you said. So I'm glad you said that because that was my main goal.
Hey, I think you honestly succeeded with it. So
Thank
listen,
you.
so in preparing for this interview, so I read the whole entire book. Like, and one thing
Mhm,
for me is I like to be prepared for these interviews to where it's not just surface level. Like,
mhm,
oh, what made you start writing? I like that. That was those questions are important, but I want to
mhm,
like dive into it because I feel like that's really gonna get people like to want to read it and want to like invest in it, right?
mhm.
So I want to get into the book, but I don't want to spoil it. So I want you to sort of like lead me where I can go. Okay. So I
Okay.
need you to give me the rundown of the book from your mind because you know what you want to admit and let people read, and you know what we can talk about. So I want you sort of to lead it off. Like what is in the book that we can talk about right now?
So for Nostrof University Volume 1, we are focusing on our main character, Nate, as you said. And she's entering into her new era of young adulthood as she has enrolled and been accepted into the prestigious HBCU of Nostrof University, which is also her parents' alma mater. And she's just trying to balance, whether she wants to continue the family's legacy because their family name holds weight on that campus, or if she wants to decide whether she's going to carve out her own lane and create her own legacy, without doing too much. She's also surrounded by Greek rivalries, student politics, like you said, and it's just a whole bunch of drama. You have friends, love, legacy, a lot of self discovery. It's a lot going on in that novel, as you know.
I definitely do know because, like I said, I did like because it's not like oh he didn't read it. No, I actually did read this book from the beginning to the end, literally as I was watching Wembenyama and the Spurs go crazy on ESPN. I literally was reading. I'm watching Wembenyama dunk. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm trying to get back to it to the end. So with Naomi, I really like Nay's character, like because Nay for me, like when we talk about main characters they have to sort of set the tone. And I know for me, when I watch TV shows or when I watch movies, I want to see who that main character is and how they move because that sets the tone of the story. And I think that in writing, a lot of times your main character sometimes get overshadowed by the supporting characters. I'll give you a perfect example that might or might not make the interview. So Grownish, for example, like I used to watch Grownish. I didn't really like Grownish all that much towards the end, but if you watch the show, Zoe was overshadowed by Aaron, by Anna, by Doug, by the twins. Like Zoe often was overshadowed, and while that's important, that you want to see a strong main character that can interact and engage with the storylines going on. With Nay, she was strong. She was strong-willed. You could tell she had it going on, and she didn't take any mess. So I want to ask, like, how did you come up with the character of Nay? Like, is the character based off you? Is it based off a friend? Like, who is Nay based off of?
I get that question all the time from my from my early readers. Did you write Nate about you? All of my characters have a little piece of me, for sure. But Nate, like I said, these characters, I've been honestly writing Nostrof University since high school, So these characters have grown with me and they have matured as much as I have matured. So a lot of my life experiences have gone into each one of these characters. So a lot of, like you said, Nay's strong-willed, her determination, she's not taking no mess. That might be that's a little bit of me for sure, but I also feel like it's a lot of other young adults that are going through this same transition, as they're trying to navigate this new life in college and with friends and everything like that.
So the part that really was gripping for me, it was really two parts. So the first part was the rivalry between Gamma Alpha Theta and Delta Kappa Chi, which that is a large part of the story because you set the scene of Nay and her friend Harper, like their legacies within that sorority because their moms were a part of the sorority. Yeah, they have a huge lineage of legacy within it, and that's the huge backdrop of it. So in the book, like I'm reading through the book, and there's a rivalry between the two organizations. In my mind, like the first question I asked, even just as I read through the book, is like, what's the history of it? Because it seemed like there's really like some history, and even one of the characters even alluded to it when it came to a conversation, and it reminded me of like my college years. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I've seen this rivalry play out as someone that is not a part of a Greek organization, but has friends that are part of sororities and fraternities, and also have worked with folks that are in sororities and fraternities and represent them on HBCU polls. So like that's something that I see, and I can understand like, oh, this is the history behind it. So what is the history behind the rivalry between GAT and Delta Kappa Chi, or often in the book is DKC?
Right. So like you said, even one of the characters alluded to something happening prior, like decades ago, right? So the main thing with Delta Kappa Chi and Gamma Alpha Theta is the royal court, Mrs. Sacred Seven. So at a lot of HBCUs, people think it's usually the band or the football team that makes the HBCU what it is. But at Nostrof University, it's all about the Greek life, okay? And whoever holds the throne for Mr. and Mrs. Sacred Seven, which is at the top of the Royal Court board right next to Mr. and Mrs. Nostrof University, that's who has all the bragging rights. And with GAT and DKC being the top two sorority houses, over the years, they went back and forth with that top spot. So with these new Dean of Pledges, you have the ego, you have the pride, the tradition, it gets catty, it gets messy, but the rivalry runs deep. But their main thing is we need to have my organization needs to have Mrs. Sacred Seven. So it all stems back to the royal court back then. But I'm not going to tell the readers who takes the spot, but you know who takes the spot.
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah. I do. Yeah, it was very interesting, and in that part, what I will say is like, what is old girl thinking? Like what? Like because when she was given the reasoning, I was like, the reasoning is rooted in some level of delusion, and Nay was looking at it the right way. You know what I mean? Because like the whole entire aspect of the sister element, I totally understood that, and I'm like, and she taking it too deep. A lot of these folks, y'all taking this way too deep, which is very real. It's
Exactly, exactly. They let it get there. And like I said, I've heard the stories from my mom, and even I have some cousins that have pledged, as well. So I've heard the stories. I've done my research. Like I said, even though I didn't attend an HBCU nor have I pledged, the stories I've heard, the interviews I've seen, like it's very real. I had to make sure I touched on that level of Delulu in the story.
that was something I think that was incredibly important to touch on. If you all just joining us, I'm talking with Chanese Jaa, the author of the new HBC fictional book, Nostrof University. Just finished reading it on last night, and it is amazing. And of course, you cannot do an HBCU book not talking about love, because in college you gather love or you don't. I didn't. Okay, so it's like it's this expectation that there's this love story, like Devon and Layla in Drumline, that don't really happen. But there are relationship ties that happen. There's fraternizing in that way that happens on campuses. And with Taj, the character of Taj, he honestly became probably even over Nay my favorite character, because I like that you gave him some depth, and I don't want to go too far into what happened with him, because that's deeper in the book. But I think that he had a lot of depth, because you can tell that there was a growing element that happened with Taj, and Nay, especially at the beginning of that book. Like, she was like, I don't really know about you, man. Like, I'm cool. We good. I know you from high school, but like, you stay over there and play football. We just start quarterback, and I'm gonna do me, right? So one of the other questions I had in the book is like, what happened between Nay and Taj that made them fall out? Because we know that Nay was popping when she was in high school, and then clearly Taj was popping as a football player, because he goes on to Nostrof, star quarterback, and he's getting NFL buzz. So what happened between them? Like, how did they get together? And then what was the thing that made them fall apart? And clearly it seemed like Taj did something.
Yeah, and I just wanna go back to you saying Taj may be your favorite character over Nay. I love that because I felt like a lot of people would say that about Taj. I love Taj, and I feel like I always say Taj is good to Nay, but sometimes he's not good for Nay. You know what I mean? But, like you were saying, they met in high school, just, that kind of love at first sight, first love, puppy love kind of thing. You know, they were each other's first love, but Taj being the star football player that he was in high school, like he is in college, he was younger then, so he didn't really have the mindset on knowing how to push away, everyone. And Nay, she wasn't as strong as she was now, or she is now in college. So, she kind of dealt with some things, she let some things slide. She had her popularity in high school, as did he. They were the power couple, so they were tried a lot. But as he graduated a year before her in high school. So as he was going off to college to Nostrof University, some things happened and she was just like, you know what? Let's just not, like I'm really not going to see you now. I really don't know what you're gonna do now. So that time apart, he did a lot of, as he likes to say, character upgrade, software upgrade kind of thing, character development, software upgrade. So, when he sees her now, he's really trying to tell her, like, I want to do this again. And like, she's like, no, but it's, you can never really shake your real first true love, you really can't.
And one thing I'll say is that as men, and I can say this for me, I think all of us, but I think for men, like even outside of just like your first love or a girlfriend, sometimes you fall out with people and you think back, you like, man, I was tripping. And then you wanna, as men, you wanna correct it, because I feel like as men, we're socialized to sort of fix things. We're builders, we're fixers. That's how we're socialized. So if you see a young lady you feel like you wronged, or a homeboy you like y'all fell out and you want to piece it up, that's the first inclination. And sometimes that even overtakes fear. You know what I'm saying? So when I saw that interaction, that first interaction between Nay and Taj, I saw a lot of myself in that, because there is someone that I did not talk to, that I was not in any romantic involvement with, but was a good friend of mine, that I'm like, man, like if I saw that person, there is a fear that I have in my heart of like, what if this is like, she don't want to speak to me. But at the same time, it's like, what if I see that and say, listen, I apologize, I was tripping, I have grown a lot, and I want to reestablish the friendship that we had when we were in college. Like I sort of, it almost like it played out in the book. Now, Todd, I was the man at Fort Valley. I had my book coming in. People knew I as a boy to write books, but I didn't have the way that Taj had. Taj got away. There you go. Taj
I
got
mean,
away.
listen, they don't call him Hot Boy Harrison for nothing. He is the hot boy, We love Taj. We love Taj.
Yeah, like Taj was dope, and I guess I really just like the journey that he went on to sort of
Yeah.
prove himself throughout that book. And
Yeah.
just like, another thing I liked is Essence. Like Essence was like, because when you build villains, right? And I'll use Black Panther as an example. Like, because I'm
I love that you went straight to the villain.
yeah, the villain.
I
Okay,
love it.
so Killmonger in Black Panther, for example, you're like, you know what? I understand what Killmonger was talking about, because like it's a lot going on in Wakanda, and Killmonger want to run it differently than T'Challa. Like sometimes you like the villain in wrestling. Like I'm a wrestling fan. Sometimes they made me upset recently. I'm like, you know what? I might like Roman Reigns. I might like this villain, right? But with Essence, I don't like her. I got beef with Essence. Because it's like
Everybody has beef with Essence.
because Essence, because I don't play age games. People play age games with folks in our generation. Because like we ain't 30 yet. But like Essence is too old to essentially be beefing with a girl that's 18 that really ain't worried about you.
Not at all. Not at all. That's that ego. That is that ego. And then that is also her trying to keep up her appearance on campus. That is Essence's whole problem. Now, Essence, I try to give her a little wiggle room in the beginning, from a reader's perspective, definitely not a writer, but from a reader's perspective. But sis is just like, she needs to get God. And that's all I'm gonna say at that. She needs to get her behind, somebody needs to get her together real quick.
I thought it was gonna be Nay. In
You
that
know
one
she wanted
instance.
to. She wanted to, but who had come up and be like, no, we're not doing that. And that's why I love that dynamic.
Yeah, and the thing about her, like I know, like when it comes to Essence done read 48 Laws of Power. She done read Art of War, because like she is like a strategic mastermind. I'm like, she really taking this far. I'm like, man, like this. That's why I'm like, yo, this rivalry between the sororities must be deep. At this point, I'm like, this might not make the interview either. At this point, y'all might need to fight. Okay, y'all might just need.
That's what they needed to do. But they're sisters in Greek. They're always going to be sisters in Greek, but it's not always going to be sweet. They like to fight with their words. That's how they like to do it at Nostrof. That's how they like to do it.
And I tell you, Essence goes for knockout. She go for that hook. Tell her she go for that hook like that. Like it was really wild seeing sort of like that storyline between Essence, because Essence really was the source of a lot of that contention, and it all stems back to that one situation that occurred that had it gone differently, I think the story looks different. But I want to ask you about this. So Nay and Harper are incredibly close. They're heading into Nostrof University. They're inseparable. They're best friends. But they start to shift a little bit in the book, and we sort of see that dynamic. And I think, in my opinion, it was unfair to Nay, really, how it was happening, and like Harper was tripping. But how did they become cool? Because it seemed to me like it was easy to destroy that for Harper. It was easy to destroy what they had, but I know that building it had to be something expansive. So how did they build that friendship?
Well, they have been best friends since birth. Literally, their mothers were line sisters. They pledged Gamma Alpha Theta together at Nostrof University. So they came out the womb GAT, ready to go, So that's what they have been groomed to do and be their entire lives, and that's what they said they were going to do all throughout college. And when things started to go a little differently for one or the other, for Harper, she just like, look, this is what we're supposed to do. Like, this is all I know. This is what we are supposed to do. And she didn't really like, the way Nay wanted to do things, but she was just like, I love you, but I have to do what I have to do. Like, I'm not doing anything different. So unfortunately for Harper, it was kind of, I don't want to necessarily say it was easier for her to just discard it. But I think she definitely had she really didn't want to do what she had to do under Essex's orders, but she knew in order to get what she needed to get done, she had to do that. And regardless of the fact they love each other, they will for always and forever love each other. But it's just that point, that turn in your life when you're at college, where you have to figure out your own identity. And sometimes you have to shed that friendship at that point in time.
Yeah, and she shared it.
Yeah. Yes.
She shared it like a
Yes.
snake shedding skin, literally.
Okay, listen. She shoulda went to High Alpha Road with the Vipers over there the way she was acting, but I digress.
Yeah, hey, it was different. Like Harper had me a little bit upset.
Yeah,
Had
girl,
my
like, what are
blood
you
pressure
doing?
high. I'm
Yeah.
like, Harper, like, what are you doing? Like, this is crazy. Now I got to ask you
Mhm,
this before we move into sort of the promotional author element of just your life and also the book. Are you a
mhm.
football fan?
I'm trying to get into it, and you has made me get more into football. Yes, for sure. My dad has always told me growing up, like, you need to get into sports because your son and your husband, you need to know what's going on. So I'm getting into it right now.
I can tell because like you have some real good football scenes. Like Todd's a pretty good quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
you had it. They're moving that ball down the field. It was one of them scenes, and it was one of them scenes. Todd got mad. I'm like, bro, why you mad? Like you playing pretty good. I mean we all like we might miss a pass, but like
Yeah.
ultimately
But
the goal was achieved in the book. I was like, hey, I'm playing in my mind. I'm watching basketball,
yes.
but my mind is football. Like,
Right.
like you
Right.
made it. That's why I wanted to ask that because I'm like because in some of these books, like you'll see them skip over the sports part. Like it'll just be the star basketball player, but you don't see if they make a jump shot, are they a forward or whatever. Or with the football player, oh, like they're the star quarterback that has all the women, but we don't see them on the field. Is Buddy even good? He might just have a gift of the gab. He might just know how to talk. He might be the third stringer, but can he really play? Taj could play, and I really thought that was something that, as a man, I'm a reader regardless. But as a man, I appreciated that. Okay, I did.
Yeah, of course. And that's why I wrote it as vividly and cinematically as I did, because I wanted the reader to be able to visualize it, like you said, like as if you're binge watching your favorite show. Because that's how I would like to read. Everything was intentional how I wrote it, even from the sound of gravel under the tire, when the car pulled up into the driveway. I wanted you to feel like you were in the scene. So I love that you had that reaction. Yeah. Listen, I had to tell y'all and show y'all why he has the name Hot Boy. I had to show y'all.
Yeah, I mean, clear ain't just for the women. Tell me, like
No, he's
he
on the
was
field.
he,
Firing that field up.
he was doing his big. He was looking like Lamar Jackson out there. I remember what he evaded that sack and he just touched down. I was like, all right, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Listen,
Mm,
so if you're just joining us, we're talking with Chanese Jaa, who is the author of the new HBCU book, Nostrof University. So listen, I'm an author as well. My last book, I published it in 2018. It was actually a college book. It's called Queen's Pain. So that was my first book that I published that was myself because I got a book contract, DC Book Diva, when I was in high school. And the reason why I did that was because my parents, like, they were doing their thing. I wasn't like my job was being an author, and also a camp counselor at my mom's camp, Leap Camp. Shout out to Leap Camp. Okay. But that I didn't have like a job. So like writing books was my job. So I could have gone the self-published route, but like I was like, well, let me see if I can send this off and get someone else to put up the money to make that happen. And fortunately, I was able to make that happen. And I can honestly say that changed my life. I wouldn't be sitting in front of you had I not had that forethought to say, I don't need to be 20 or 30 to write a book and publish a book. I can do it at the age of 17. So my life would be totally different. I know that it gets hard when it comes to promoting books. And like, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. When we were young authors in 2014, Amazon changed how you get your payment from 30 days to 60. Like that happened when you were a junior in high school. I was a senior in high school. I remember that someone that had just signed my contract, there were authors that were going crazy over that. And at that same time, Hachette, who's the big publisher at that time, was beefing with Amazon, and Amazon started taxing their books. And like that was literally like when I came into the game. You probably remember that.
Yeah, I didn't know the reason behind it, but yes,
Yeah,
yes,
like it was
okay.
because the whole entire thing was it was distribution because Amazon wanted a little bit more. Chet was like, "Now y'all doing too much." Then literally they started taxing those books. So yeah, like James Patterson, who writes the Alice Cross series, he spoke out. Stephen Colbert, who's doing a Colbert Report, he did a funny segment about it that I just watched a few weeks ago. Like the business of publishing when we started writing, like it was deep. Now
Yeah.
it's even harder because a lot of folks aren't really trying to read. And then social media, they stifle the reach. In 2015,
Mhm.
we see that Facebook, that organic reach, you put a link, you're not getting that same reach for your link on Facebook for Amazon or your articles as you were in 2014. That's carried it over to Facebook now and even Instagram. But one thing I've noticed that you've done expertly is you've utilized the tools that you have to produce this collateral to market your book to not only
Mhm.
build that universe of Nostrof University in the book, but on social media as well. So, and I
Yes,
think you used AI expertly. A lot of people talk
yes.
crazy about AI, but I understand responsible use of AI for
Yes.
efficiency, right? So I want you
Mhm.
to talk us through that. And you can go to her Instagram page, she'll shout it out in the end. Y'all can see what she's been doing on social media just to promote the book. So tell us about that book promotion, how you've utilized AI to push the book.
Well, like you said, a lot of people do not really like to read anymore. I like to say that we are in this TikTok attention span phase where it has to be 5 seconds or they lose interest in it. So I wanted Nostrof University to not only just be a read, but to feel like a literal experience. And I felt like AI has helped me bring that to life beautifully with the visuals. So with that, I create a whole campus with that. And I have my eagles, I have my mascot doing, visuals and things like that. And also too, it's very interactive. I had a pre-enrollment stage with Nostrof University before the book release where you could enroll like a regular HBCU. You would enroll, you would get the same acceptance letter that is now in the book. You were also able to choose your major, the Greek life that you wanted to pledge, and you also received a cute little student ID badge like this in your email. So cute. So I wanted it to just feel like a real experience. And I think that's what makes Nostrof University stand out from any other, not only just any other collegiate novel, but just any other novel in this era right now, is because it is a fully immersed world. Like it's not just a story you read on paper, it's a literal HBCU you can enroll in. Now, you won't get a degree you could use, but you can definitely get an honorary degree that you can put up for decoration, but but it's still going to feel like that community involved, that community campus, and that's why I love it.
I think that it is great that you're doing it because literally I've told people this when it comes to my journey. Like I told one young lady this who was looking to publish her book back when I was at Fort Valley is that if I could go back and do it again, because my first book was about a young lady that was in middle school and she was going through life in like a rougher environment that was based on my hometown of Macon, Georgia. And two things I would have done differently. The first thing is I would have made my character Leah Anderson high schooler. I would have just put her like just move her up a grade. She's in ninth grade. So now she could go and grow in the same way that I was. So now she could have been in college. She could have been experiencing college in this way. I think that in a way, I boxed in Aaliyah to where I was trying to appeal to that young adult audience, but there was a broader audience I could have reached out to that I didn't know about in high school of students and alumni and folks that are around college. But the second thing I would have done, because this is when we wrote our books and published them as teen authors, it was a web series wave. Like Issa Rae just popped out with Awkward Black Girl. You had a bunch of web series that were on YouTube. If I could have had the budget to do a Diary of a Leah Anderson book trailer or web series, I honestly do believe with what I was talking about and how a lot of people took to the books. I put it on Wattpad, it went crazy. Like I'm like, man, like
Love
that
Wattpad.
could have been different. So
Yeah,
I think that you doing this, it's amazing because you're literally doing something that we would have loved to have done back 10 years ago. And that is the brilliance of the brilliance of technology advancement. That's the brilliance of that forethought and that experience. So I think
exactly.
that what you're doing is really amazing in that front. And I want to ask you this just sort of to close out. What do you want readers to get out of the novel? Because I know that for me reading it, as you can tell, I think very deeply. Hopefully you can tell
Yes,
that.
yes. Love
But
that.
like I see the different stories that sort of could be gleaned from it. But just
Mhm.
from just the author of Nostrof University, what do you want people to gather from this book?
Well, for one, I want the readers to read it and for them to feel seen and proud of the culture that they just read. And also for HBCU students or even graduates, I want them to read it and feel as though they just took a trip back on campus and relived their best semester, on college. And for those who haven't had the opportunity to attend an HBCU, I want it to kind of be like their invitation into the culture, and hopefully this would even, allow some younger kids to want to enroll into an HBCU, further to educate to further educate themselves. So I just, and also too, this is just the beginning of Nostrof University. Like you said, going back, if I would have thought about the whole web series thing back then, everything would have just been different. But that's the beautiful part about growth, maturity. It's like you do things, you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your experiences. So this is just the beginning of Nostrof University. I just cannot wait for the readers to enroll into it literally, and have the same kind of feelings and reactions that you had. And then just, we help grow this world together.
I love it. I love it. Listen, volume two. Do you have a date for volume two?
I do not, but where's volume 2, 3, 4, 5? So I have some writing to do, Mr.
Okay.
Randall. I have some writing to do.
Okay. All right.
But
Listen,
it's already in the works though. And it's tea.
we need it. Okay, well,
Mhm.
how it ended, I definitely because I think it can go a lot of ways. But how that ended, I just even as the element of human nature of
Yeah.
like because even with that ending, like the clash of sort of like what black folks like talk about pettiness versus
Mhm.
morality. Like
Yes.
I'm interested to see how Nay handles that when she finds out who else was a part of what happened. Oh, very
Exactly.
interested in to see that. So I'll definitely be checking that out.
Ye
But listen, I think this was an amazing interview. Listen,
Yes.
I'm definitely excited for you as someone that like literally like you started your author journey when I started mine. And like I just met you, but I'm super proud of you for what you're doing. I think that you're a very talented writer. I think that your strength is your characterization. I think you build very strong characters. I think that Nay
Thank
was a
you.
strong
Thank
character.
you.
Yeah, I think that Taj was a strong character. I think the Essence was a strong villain. So I
Yes.
think that you're very talented. I can't wait to see where Northstroff University takes you and other work that you do. And just to close out, where can we find you on social media and how can we get the book?
So you can find me personally on social media everywhere at Shanice J. So it's ChaneseJaa. That is on Instagram and TikTok, and Nostrof University also on TikTok and Instagram. Nostrof University, Unibersity. You can purchase the book at pokertubemedia.org. You can purchase your paperback copy on that website and also your ebook copy on that website.
I love it. I love it. Listen, Shanice Jaa, author of the new book, Nostrof University. I read the book. It's fire. Go read it. Students, alumni. I even think for younger people should read it as well. I think that your high schoolers that, they might be reluctant readers, might want to go to an HBCU, have them read it. I think that that's something that really be great for them. Definitely go check it out. But Shanice, thank you so much for coming on. You're listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.